Use 32 gauge. I like that 34 gauge silver wire, but that would be too light for this for me. You could use that because it's so light, I mean so thin it might disappear. But here's the deal. I've gotten a lot of things. I've even gotten ones that are called like olive green or moss green, but they always end up being too light. So they show up. So this is a 32 gauge, just green. But I have ones that are actually called like olive green. And I'm like, that's not really olivey. That's another green. Will not search. My point is, I realize that they're always going to show up a little bit more. So I've actually found for me, what works best is 32 gauge black wire. Now the problem with the black wire, the artistic wire in particular, when it gets this low gauge, is it is much more prone to snapping than any of the other wires I've used in demos so far in terms of in this. Like that red electrical wire works really well. And of course that 34 gauge stainless steel wire that I just love for lacing light things. This, you have to be a little more mindful of it. I've snapped it a couple of times making those 7 over there. So my dog's doing the funniest thing right now. So I like to have a lot to hold with it because I just need that. So I'm going to have a lot of wire waste on this. You're going to have to chalk that up to necessity for the arthritic hands. So I start from the top. The reason I like to start lacing from the top, I don't know, maybe everyone does this. I'm just telling you this is, I don't know what everyone does. This is why I do it. I start lacing from the top because in this particular one, it depends on what kind of leaf I'm doing, but then I can kind of get rid of the imperfections down here. It depends. Sometimes it's better or not. But when you're doing a bunch of these side loops, yeah, I think you kind of have to, right? I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I mean, look at the way I do scallops, right? I thought you had to do them from the top, but I don't think anyone else does them that way. So I want to have about maybe, I don't know, whatever that is, a little over ½ an inch of free floating on the top. So I'm just going to do the top 3. So I really don't need that much lacing, right? But the thing is, it's kind of fun to do this lacing because it's actually, there's a lot of places you do it, but not a lot of length to it. And so you end up with really sturdy leaves and they have a cool shape. And, you know, you don't really see the lacing, right? So now I'm going to pull this guy. Now, again, you're about to watch me lace a bunch. So feel free to stop anytime and fast forward. So, but I'm going to show you the creative lacing part. First, we'll get rid of, we'll get done with the not so creative lacing part. Whoops, I'm leaning too far forward. My shirt got stuck on there. Okay. So, going down in here, bringing it up. And so I'm only doing it right across there, right? Going straight across. Now, some of you might go, well, why don't you do a V? And this is too steep of a V, and those get a little bit floppy. I want there to be cross lacing all the way across because I want that extra sturdiness. I always do a double wrap at the end. I think I said this already when we were lacing the poppy petals, just to make sure it's really in there. And I just realized also, it might be a little bit messed up. I got to apologize right out of the bat because I don't have my contacts in. It's easier for me to do it with contacts and reading glasses than with my regular seeing glasses. But I had to take out my contacts. So I actually having a little hard time seeing close up. Let me see if I can do it without my oh, now it's, there we go. So I'm going to pull that really tight and I'm going to go through here, but then I have to be right up close to it. I don't know if that works on camera. Okay, so we're going to pull this one up, making sure it's real tight next to it. Yeah, that doesn't work. Okay, let's try it back to the regularly scheduled glasses program. Not optimal, but gets the job done. It's hard to see little bits, though, which wasn't a problem until lacing. Lacing, you definitely need to have your close-up eyesight, huh? Okay. Making me appreciate my reading glasses. So, pull this through here, and then we're going to do a double loop. Come around, stick that through there. And then, so now we got the first one chopped off. I actually saved these bits because I actually can use them on these little ones where I just tack down the sides. I'm not going to do that with you guys because I have to be real kind of careful with it. So there's not as much wire waste as you might think, but you don't have to. Do what is comfortable for your hand to hold, right? So make sure that you have enough to be comfortable. So we go through the middle, right? And then I'm going to through the top, through the middle, and then we pull them. It doesn't matter if they're super symmetric because there's enough wire here. And now at this point, I want to grab this one right about there. So I'm going to get down to about maybe here. So right, I'm just looking at where I want it to end up. I want it to end up right about there. So that looks good. So I'm going to pull it up, hold these up, pull down. There we go. And then make sure it crosses over once real tight. And then off we go again. So this will be my last like normal lacing. So we'll get through this kind of fast. I'm sure we could do it a lot faster if I could see the lacing. This is like a lacing challenge. Okay, I'm going to have to take my glasses off for that one. There we go. So we're going through fast. And then this is the last one where we're going to go kind of all the way across. And I'm going to hold this one out of the way. Once you do your first two, you won't tangle with this anymore, but it might be in the way. So sometimes I bring it up here and just sort of wrap it around the center wire for a second to keep it out of my way. Don't do that right away because you'll have an issue. Wait, did I just see? I cannot do this without my glasses. I am so sorry, everyone. This is crazy. I didn't think it would be that much of a problem to take out my contacts. But we will make it work because I am not doing this one again. You don't want me to do it again, do you? You're like, yeah, do it again. I'll put it at the end of this one. You have to watch both. You don't want that. Okay, so now I definitely am messing up my lacing a little bit because I cannot see. And I can see if I get really close to it, but then my head will be in front of the camera. Okay, so now we're going to come over here. We're going to hold this one, the one that's free floating still that we want to attach. Make sure it gets right up on it. I already kind of did a step down, which I did not mean to do because of my vision right now. Okay, so we're going straight across. I wouldn't even recommend doing a V down here because I want to keep everything as solid. And there's less the V lacing where you're kind of going down that way. It works. It depends. It's kind of a pain. I find it to be almost taking as long as if I just do a bunch of straight across because you have to like kind of really plan and it gets picky. And okay, we straighten our wire each time as we go. So now I'm at the end of this one. All right, so I'm going to go around one more time. And then I'm going to go to the other side. And I really am normally a little better at it, but I cannot have my contacts in right now. So I'm going to clip that one off. You can clip them both off at the end. I just like to get it out of the way. I'm going to get that one unattached. And we're going to go as fast as we can, lacing through here so you don't have to watch the beading equivalent of paint drying. So I like that little click. I love that little click when it goes in there. But you have to be careful with that little click with this black wire because it's not as sturdy as those other wires I use. You know, and I've had to do patch jobs. And if that happens, we'll do it. So when I do patches, I just start like 2 rows back from where it broke and I just start it again and keep going. Okay, so this is I would actually want a longer wire to go across here for me to hold. This is fine to do and I'll have minimal wastage, but waste, I don't need to call it wastage, just waste. But that being said, it's getting slightly uncomfortable for me to hold it. I like to have more to grip on. Right, so let's pull it through this last row. Watch, that's the one. It almost always snaps at the end, right? And you're like, I made it all the way through until the end. Now, if it snaps on your double wraparound, who cares? Because some people just do a single wraparound at the end and they survive. So if it snaps on your double, just let it go. Let it go. I feel like I have to bust into a Frozen song. Okay, you do not want that. See, now I can't even see because my contacts are like, where is that? I wear contacts right now because I'm having an eye issue, so I'm kind of stuck with these. So I've been wearing my glasses for basically for 3 days. It's been an adventure beading. So now I'm going to do a little tack down job. So that got these all attached. So now this one, like I said, creative lacing, right? You can figure out what works for you. I did, let's look really close. Oh, and this one I did do is sort of all the way down. So you don't need, you can do a little, if you want these to be closer, like this to be closer up, you can tack this one sideways and then go down from there. If you don't care if it flanges out, then you can start from here and do sort of a, like an arched lacing. So either one, like you said, you know, you don't have to, you can lace as you need, right? You don't, what I mean by that is you don't have to like, you know, you don't have to have, it doesn't have to be any particular, there's no like lacing, like it has to be this way or it's not lacing. Now with this one, I might want this one attached higher, which might make it hard to attach to this one. So you could do like a minimal lacing one. Start like in say the last row here. Now, if you're going to start in the last row, you're going to need the furthest away one to be the long one. Furthest away from the direction you're going to go, because you're going to twist them, right? Now, see, I'm deciding what I want to do. We'll see. Let's see how this works out. So I'm going to tie it off. You always plan on where you want it to hit on your freestanding one. And I want it to hit right about, maybe a little bit lower. Again, glasses. I know you're like, why did you make us watch this video where you clearly cannot see? So that looks good. And it doesn't even, because we're going for kind of randomness, it doesn't have to be the same on the other side. So that's cool. So you want the longer one now that I crossed it to be obviously aiming in the direction you're going to go in. Because this is my tail wire that I will come back and wrap around twice. But I'm going to get going with the business of getting done. So I want this one to tack down a little bit closer. So I'm going to bring it down right here so that it's right through there right now, right at the tip of my fingernail. If you can't see it again, sorry, I'm not doing high contrast because I actually need to use these. So I want to pull it close before I do it because I really want it to be tight. Now, if your lacing gets a little bit loose, that's okay. You know, just don't try to break it as you shape things. Now, I'm going to bring this around because I do want this to be attached. And what I'm noticing now, which I noticed before, you will notice before, is that when I tie this one off, it would be really hard for this one to come back down and hit down because I want to have some movement on the edge of those, right? So I'm just going to attach that one with this. Again, creative lacing. Like, I don't lace as you go because that doesn't work for me and it wouldn't work here anyway because it's so random. Well, it's not random, but it's so like discombobulated again. But the thing with that though is that you can just kind of keep it in mind as you go. So I'm going to put this one through again because that's my end wire. Give it a little bit extra of a bump there. Bring it around and then cut it off. And so that just tacks that side loop back, flange. I'm making a face at it. Right there. Now I did have a little waist because I thought I might stretch it down and then I realized I was going like I really didn't want to. Now, that's where I would use these little bits, by the way, at this stage. No, but don't do that unless you're comfortable doing that. Like if you feel like you're comfortable with just using a little bit. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to come through here, bring it around. I'm trying to look without. So again, you want the shorter side. In this case, it's not a big piece of wire. So we want to hit a little bit up there. Figure out where you want it to be on the freestanding loop. I did the opposite of what I just told you to do. You want the one to be furthest away to be the longest until you twist it, right? So we're going to hit it right about there. And I know this is not always going to be fun. This is my crazy lacing I'm making you watch. Maybe it's all just a big practical joke. You might even just want them free floating, actually. You know, do your thing. I did not. So I'm lacing them down as I go. So again, I'm just going to put that one through. Hopefully you can see this. Gosh, I hope this is. Okay. And then I'm going to bring this one through over here. Bring it through. I don't have to go through those other sides because it's already free floating. So you can just kind of go around it until now. Now I have to go through. So this is how I use my end bits, is for these little tack downs. But it can get a little short, so be careful. If it does get too short, you can always pull it through with pliers for the second one. You know, like this one, I'm going to go around again. I'm going to put it in here, pull it around, make sure it goes through the bead I want it to go through, not the one above it. And then I can sneak it through that little furrow and bring it in here, and then I can cut off. And I know I'm holding it way up because I have to hold it close to my face. I sure hope this is showing up. Okay, so now, again, this can actually go pretty fast because you're not going all the way across. You might be doing like weird bits and pieces of lacing, but because you're not going all the way across, it actually goes pretty fast. So now these are still my free floaters. Now these I'm just going to go, you know, down. So I'm going to take a piece, you know, you always, I don't know, I do it like about 4 inches longer or 5 inches long because I really want stuff to hold on to. That's me. It's okay. So I'm going to start on the last one that's actually anchored down, which is up here. I'm going to go through here. I'm going to make the one that's furthest away. I'm going to lace down. So I want the one to the left to be the longest one to begin with, right? I'm going to pull it through so it's the long guy. You know, and so I have like about, I don't know, 2 inches on the other one here. And now what I want to do is I want to plan. I'm going to look down here and I'm going to say, okay, I like these to be a little free floating. So if I hit this like straight down here, we'll be doing pretty good, right? So just pick a bead. It's okay. It doesn't have to be anywhere in particular. You just want to make sure you hit that, you don't, you know, you hit the tips of everything. That one might even be too low. So I move it up. And there's nothing that's too low for what I want right now. If you did it, would not be a big deal. I promise. So I'm going to put a little V on it. A little crossover on it. Okay, and then off we go with lacing it. We're just going to go down now. And I'm going to need my glasses off for this. So I'm going to go through here. Through that. Make sure you get kind of, we want it to be sturdy. So get a nice, like one that's right across from it. Pull it in. And then we're going through this side. Sorry, I cannot see. I feel so bad that I didn't even think about that. Okay, I didn't know it would be such a big deal, to be quite honest. So hopefully you can still see. So now with this one, I can just tuck into that, go around this side, pull it up, go in here, pull it down. Okay, and then hitting this one again, going in the middle there, and I just want to go kind of straight down. So I'm hitting it right here. And actually, I'm going to want to get this tip of this one at least. So I'm going to have to cut in a bit. So just keep in mind where you're going. And depending on where you start, you might have to cut in a little bit to get to the tip of that one. It's like I have my glasses off. If you can see this, look, my face is like 2 inches from this thing. Like, can I see it? Okay, and now this one. So now this one, like I said, I want to hit that tip. At least want to get like a little bit of the tip. So I'm going to pull this and I'm going to lace it a little bit back. Just make sure it gets into your bead. And it doesn't matter if you are not straight across from the previous laced bead. You can go back a little bit. But what I probably should have done is planned ahead better and not pulled it out more and just started back more. But I was getting a little greedy. I wanted that top to be a little nicer, right? Okay, that middle one to still be. So now I'm going to pull that one. Just give yourself, you know, you can lace pretty darn close. So this one is going through right there at the tip of my finger. Right there at the tip of my finger. So it's not very much free floating to it, but it's enough that I'm going to be able to curve it down and give it some shape. So I'm going to pull that around, back around, and in we go. Holy cow, we're running out of time. I don't want to make it so it's so long. It's going to take forever to upload. It takes hours to upload them for some reason. I thought I had kind of a fast connection. So you double do that one, pull that down, go back to your initial one. And I actually will sometimes even go back another row from the first one just to make sure it's really in there. And also it fortifies that other one. So you can actually go back a little bit if you want to. Lace backwards in here. Give it a little bit more fortification. Lacing is cool. It doesn't normally take this long because I can normally see my lacing. So at this point, ooh, there we go. Pulled it through that right bead. So I'm going to double do it right now. because in the interest of time, we got to get rolling. But you might even want to do another one because these two are, then it would secure that flange, that side loop, that loop back to the edge. So let's cut our guys off here, and then we only have one more one to do, and I'll try to do it as fast as possible. Again, I would pause this, but when I try to merge the videos, that takes forever too. So I'm being a little bit, so I'm going to give myself a lot of this because I'm going to make sure I have a lot. Since I can't see, that's the back. So we're going to go through here and here. And that was a wonky way to do it, wasn't it? Again, I'm going to put my glasses down. You notice if you're nearsighted, a lot of times, if you wear your like regular glasses, I don't really do well with progressives. So if you do your regular glasses, it you don't see as well without your glasses, with your contacts and reading glasses. So anyhow, I don't know why I'm talking about that because I'm trying to get this done. Okay, so I'm going to choose now. Look at how I'm using this wire. I'm going to choose now so that I actually hit down a little closer. I don't have to do as much of a pullback. I might have to because there's a little bit of a slant to the beads, but that's okay. I can handle it. So if I can untangle my lacing wire, there we go. We just want one crimp on it. There we go. And I can already see that this piece of lacing, because those aren't that sturdy when you just do one like that, is pulling apart a little bit. I'm not super happy with that. I've been manhandling it. That's okay. You can go further back on that little tack down. And we can actually do that with this, and that will help. So let's go for a fast down. Let's see. Speed racer. I wish I could do the, like all of a sudden just move it into like time lapsed. Especially when I get things stuck because I can't see. Okay. Now, do that one down there. Come back around here. I'm going to step down a little bit. Again, creative lacing. Ooh, don't want to pull it too hard because the last thing I want to do right now, knock on wood, my bead spinner, is do a repair. But watch, because I said that I'm going to jinx myself. Okay. So keep going real fast. And again, feel free to fast forward at any portion of tonight's entertainment. Well, if it was entertaining, you wouldn't fast forward, would you? So I'm stepping down a little bit. Ooh, I got scared that when I pulled that one in, I could feel the click. And then I pulled it out again. Okay. Yeah. Note to self. Do not make beading video if you can't wear contacts. Okay, I'm just gonna hope for the best. Pull that one in there. Pulling down fast. There we go. Definitely gonna do a little tightening up on that one, which if I were seeing better, I would have seen that it was gonna loosen up, so you should not have that problem. And I'm gonna pull this one up right there because I only need a little tidbit at the top. Last but not least, let's get this one around. Do not snap on me, wire. Not now. I don't mind if things snap on me. I'm just worried about time because I don't want to. If it's snapped, I would feel bad. Though I guess we could have a teaching moment in which we fix the snap. I don't want to have a teaching moment right now in which we fix the snap. Oh, shoot. I wasn't going. I was totally probably out of the frame for that one. I'm so sorry. Again, I'm having to look like inches away. So, okay. So that one works. We're done there. I'm going to go back up to the top, noticing, this is a teaching moment, noticing that this one's getting a little loose right here. Getting a little loose right there. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to go to give it a little bit of a tighter grip. Right? So use what you can. You can always go over it again. You know, what's going to be a few minutes, you know, that's okay. Okay, I'm going to tighten this one in that. Bring it in here. Just make sure you don't tangle it with the other wire. Easier to see from the top. There we go. Pull it through. I feel so bad that you're watching this right now. Because I can't see where the end of the wire is. It's starting to turn into a comedy of errors. Okay. I'm going to go back on this one. Yeah, you do have to be, I was being a little bit lazy. If you're doing this little tack down, you should go back a row or two. Okay. And now I'm kind of going backwards. So patching together, might have been shorter if I had just done it with a new patch. Okay, going through with, a new piece of wire. Let's go through here again. So now I'm bringing this back up close to it. This is my patch right now. Creative lacing. Okay, so I'm going to pull that tightish, but I do not want to snap it. Going through again. And so I'm making sure I'm fortifying that little attachment there. I haven't had to do that in one of the other ones. I think that is just because I wasn't seeing close. You should be okay. And like I said, if you're better, and if you do this little tack down here, you should go back 2 rows. I should have recommended that. I was trying to be like, it's so easy. But at the end of the day, you do want to be careful. Make sure that it's going back far enough, because it will stretch out if it's just 1 row in. The other side looks pretty sturdy though, so I'm not going to spend the time right now going back and fortifying that guy. Because again, I haven't had to do it in the other one. So just go back 2 rows if you're doing it. Or do a round lace that way. Creative lacing. That is exactly why I called it that. Okay, so now I'm just going to go one more time to make sure it's solid in there. I've gone 2 rows up. And so now using this one, I fortified this little thing here. And so you could have just done that in the beginning. You could have just gone all the way down there. And that's probably what I should have done. I was trying to be cute with it. But again, that's why you can choose which path to go. And I offered that as a path, and then I got a little bit lazy with it. So if you start, you can see the path that it would have taken if you had gone that direction. And if you could see things close up, which hopefully you can. I, on the other hand, not so much right now. Okay. So we're pulling this around. Oh my goodness. I think I am going to try to cut this out, but then I don't know how to merge it again. So, and I'm going to pull it because it's getting so short, I don't really have a good grip on it. So I'm going to pull it with this, which a lot of times does snap it, and that's okay. I want to snap it at this time because I'm pulling the end off of it. So I'm okay with it snapping now. So I don't get the pliers out until we're done. That actually snapped it pretty close. Okay. Holy cow. Never again with another video. Okay, that being said, will I not wear my contacts? I'm okay with it. After all that, trials and tribulations. So I do that little thing we talked about with if you saw the chrysanthemum video, if not, the Spider-Man video, I like to get, first of all, we'll get a bend on the whole thing. When I bend basic frames, a lot of times I start from the bottom and push through that bottom bead so that it shows up on the bend and doesn't sink in. And it also gives it a nice arch right there. Oh my goodness. This is going to be the longest video in one take ever. One take, no notes, no script. So bear with me. So again, I do this thing where I take them and I twist out and bend down. You can twist them however you want to, but I like that 3D sort of effect. So I twist them and bend down, right? Twist on this side, bend down. Twist on the bend down. Twist, bend down, twist. Give them a little shape, a little fluff, right? So remember how wonky that thing looked in the beginning? And this one's not shaped anymore because we made it flat. But now, and again, twist and bend down, twist and bend down, twist and bend down. And then you can kind of pull them out any way you want to and kind of make them random. But that just, push your bead up. I already pushed the bead up on this one, so it's still there even though it got flattened. And so after all of those trials and tribulations, it still looks pretty darn fluffy in a good way. Right? And you can twist that, even the little short guy you can twist. And even all that pain in the nakedness, it doesn't even look that bad underneath. I do have that one patch through. So one thing I want to point out, and I think I did the ones that were wider the other way, but if you could start here and then just kind of curve your lacing down and just do it in one thing, right? I just kind of wanted to anchor these up higher, but actually it's so minimal. It's the distance between the two. It's easier just to do an arched lacing through here and kind of shape it down, kind of shape it out and then pull it down, shape it out, pull it down. Lace however you need to, just stick it up. First 3, remember, so now our lacing was across the first 3 straight, across this next, our first, this, that, and that. So our guess that would be our first 7 rows, and then our 9 rows, and then we had to start getting creative. And with this one, again, if you started you want to start 2 rows in so that you have enough that it won't stretch out, like what just happened with me when I was trying to get fancy with it. Trying to get too cute with it is what's happening. So I started here and I did a little tack down. Now, if this one's a lot wider and you want it to tack down, then do that if you want to tack across here. Otherwise, you can take it down and do an arched lacing straight down. Either way, you can tack it down here and start here. Doesn't matter. Either way, you should start 2 rows back in whenever you do a not all the way across lacing to give it enough sturdiness, enough to hold on to. Right? Because the all the way across, obviously it's not an issue there, but then that's maximum sturdiness. It's always going to be pulling from one side to the other. Here I'm starting in the middle of something, so I want to make sure I'm starting farther enough back to anchor it. Okay. Whew. Holy cannoli. There we go. Oh my God, now we have to, oh my goodness. Now we have to, I'm going to try to do a fast assembly. Okay, let's do a fast assembly because I don't want to make a separate video for it. It's be done. Not because I don't like making it. It's feeling bad. Listen, so what I would use, what I do use for this is not that. Where did you go, my stem wire? Like I said, I got 8 projects going at once. So I'm going to use a simple, just a basic sort of 18 gauge stem wire, green painted one, 16 gauge, sorry, 16 gauge, 18 inches. I always make it the maximum length, as I'm sure does everyone, because you don't know how it's going to play out. Okay, let's do this kind of fast. Our assembly. Fast assembly. Now, fast assembly, where's the stuff? So, I'm going to use a dark green. But I'm going to use a grabbing green. This is particular. I like this green. I'm not going to use it for the stem because it's not quite the green I want. But it's a really, well, maybe I will. It's a really grabby, rubbery green. So I'm going to make what I call like my sort of, I wrap the initial thing so I have something to grab onto, right? So I'm going to wrap that down a bit. Now, again, I wouldn't necessarily attach leaves here. I'm going to attach 2 here just to attach them, but sometimes I will leave the leaves off or just do even a smaller one and then have the leaves be on their own stem in the assembly. That is 100% up to you. Where did my dark green go? I can open up a fresh one. Oh, that's really dark green. I wonder where that came from. But I like it. That's a different brand. Okay, let me take the top off. So this will be my other wrapping one. Now, let's do this kind of quick. Let's get this thing over with so you're done. Okay, let's get our components out. First thing we're going to need is our little center. So with this, I'm going to use a wrap of kind of a reddish 32 gauge, any sort of reddish that I think is strong enough, 32 gauge. Here's a brown 32 gauge that is never brown. Where's my other? We're going to go with this because I do want to try to do this as quickly as possible. So slow it down if you need to, speed it up if you want to. So I actually normally use an antique copper for this because it's more of an orangey, reddish thing. I do not see it handy. I think I halfway cleaned up my area, halfway didn't. And I'll stick with this one. Okay, so we're going to use this. That's fine. It's a 32 gauge. And I just want kind of a reddish color because I want it to sort of blend, right? If it does peek through, which it doesn't normally, but you know, for the petals it might. So I'm going to take you take your beehive, however you're going to do it. It's the same kind of idea. This one is a little bit more, and I'm going to stick it through one of these areas, these little hole areas. The one that looks the biggest, because I want to be able to push it into the middle just for symmetry if I can, but I don't need it to be perfectly in the middle because the petals and everything are going to take care of that. So I'm going to stick it right there. Stick it so you can feel, but don't poke it through. Be careful, but just gently make sure that the top of your wire is getting pretty much all the way up to the top of the inside of this thing. So I know that wire was somewhere. Anyway, this will work. And then just kind of get it right on there and just wrap it a few times. It's going to be wrapped so many times that it doesn't matter. Now with this one, I'm going to wrap it a few times though, because I am going to cut the wire because I'm going to use the stamens, the wires that they're on themselves, basically. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to wrap down maybe about 1.5 inches. Okay. Cut that off. Now I'm going to do my first row, my shortest row, which in this case I went dark to light. So it's easy to see. And I normally leave one tail end longer than the other. So I'm going to leave that one to be my outside one. I mean my inside one, my starter one. The tail is going to be my outside. So I'm going to wrap around. I'm going to wrap it up. Wrap it up, keeping my finger kind of guiding it so that when I get to the beading part. Now, here's where you have to be careful. It's not like continuous loops. Here, if you pull too tight, continuous loops can pop apart. These will really pop apart, and they just won't look as cool. You have to go back even to go rewrap them. So you want to be you want it to make sure it's getting flush on there, though. It's kind of an uncomfortable wrap. You've probably done it before, so you know what I'm talking about. But you want to get it right as tight as you can without pulling. So really be aware of that, because if you pull it too tight and then just wrap until you can't. In fact, I would almost want that to be longer, but there it is. So then after you do that, oh gosh, I'm going to have to bend it again. You know, see how it's all uneven? So just, you know, spread it so it's a little more even, evenly dispersed, right? So do that kind of fast. Holy cannoli, I should have done this in 2 videos. But we're going to get this part done. So now, you know, you don't want it to look like super perfect, and then you can adjust that later. But you want it to be pretty perfect. I don't know what that means. You want it to, you start with it being really nice, and then you fix it later to not be nice. You don't want to go the other way around, because that's more of a pain, to look more random. So I can't really do this with my fingers because it's too tight for me to get in there. So I use like forceps. You just do a bunch at a time. Be careful not making it too like sharp of a turn. So you don't even want to do a hard grab, because it will make it look like a sharp right angle. We don't want that, like a corner. We want it to just be a bend. And it's just to start it, right? So then once you get it started, it's easier to kind of keep bending it. So, and again, my fingers don't do really, and this iron wire is a little sturdy. I feel like I'm making a lot of excuses. I don't like that. So anyway, so now it looks something like that. I want to make sure that you're actually seeing it. So it looks something like that on the side. And you can always shape more later. So now I'm going to do my next one, and I'm going to look for my, and again, I try to have a little bit longer of one side. So this looks like the shorter side, though they both look like they could be shorter. So now I'm going to start holding the shorter side, and then this got bent somehow in transition. Let's bend that back. These are not worthwhile to bend before you twist, because they get so wonky. I used to try that, like to do the bend before I, you know, put them onto the actual stem wire. Oh my gosh, total waste of time and more annoyance. So again, we're going right up to the bottom of the previous row, trying to push it up, hold it up there, pinch your fingers up here to guide it onto there. And then you want to make sure you're trying to, you really want to make sure, because it can feel, because they'll snag on each other. So it'll feel like it's like touching the stem wire when it's not actually. So you want to really make sure, without pulling it too hard, that you're getting right onto that stem wire, and that it's not an illusion that it's snagged on itself. And once you get down to the bare wire, then just do some hard wraps around, meaning like tight wraps. Now doing the same thing here. We're going to look down and, you know, just kind of disperse it. This was the one that was 30, so there's a little bit more to it. You know, and kind of just spread it out so it looks a little bit even. Doesn't have to be perfect. I forgot I don't like these particular forceps. There's something about them that's just a little bit wonky. And it's weird because they don't look any different than my other forceps, but there's something. Oh my gosh, I'm making so many excuses. Stop it. Okay, bend it up. Bend it up. Not all forceps are created equal, just like everything else, right? Like the wire. Now, you might be able to just do this with your fingers, in which case, then don't worry about it. And you might be able to do it without twisting your wire so that you can see it under a camera. So we're just bending them, right? Getting a little bend to them. I wonder why I don't like those as much. There's just something about them that just doesn't quite feel right. Okay. So again, you can work on the shaping once it's in there, you know, once it's all assembled too. So don't worry too much about it as you go. But the more you can do when there's not like petals and other junk around, the better, right? But you don't want it to look perfect. That's the whole goal. So right now we're looking pretty good. We look from the side. We got, you know, it's not super bent, but it gets the job done. You can put a little bit more of a bend to it, pull it out later. you know, if you want it to be fluffed out that way. So let's get the last row on here, and then we will do the final fluffing after we get it all put together. So now you can already see the two sort of colors blending together, which is kind of cool. Now, last one is our longest one, but I did with the shortest wire. Funny. Not good. So, I have to straighten and bend it every time. I did order a new tripod, so hopefully, and lighting setup, since the demise of my previous one. So again, just hold it. I don't know why I'm trying to do it that way, because I was thinking about the tripod. Hold it wherever and just wrap it to get up to meet the bottom. Now, it does start to feel like it's tangling. You have to be real patient with this and resist the urge to pull it too tight just because you're making sure it's on the stem wire. Just resist that urge, because it's really easy to pull apart those twists, especially if you didn't do them super tight at the bottom. And I mean super tight. So anything but super tight has a possibility of. Now, you could definitely add more. This is the same amount as the original one, exactly the same, but you could add more of any level. Well, I wouldn't add more of the medium because it's already maxed out. But if I did add more, I'd probably add more on the larger twist, the longest twist. You might even want to go up to, like, I don't know. For some reason, I always do even. I don't know why. Some things I like to be odd. Some things I like to be even. You can go all the way up. You know, I might even do 24 of them just to get a bit more of a fluff factor. But I like it for this one because I want to be able to see through to those black dots. So I'm good with this level. So remember, the number of stamens you do, you can fluff them out completely. Do your thing. Okay, so now that's our stamen. From the side, it looks like that. Later on, if we want to pull it wider, we can, but we want to have a little room to work, to get the petals in there. Holy cow. It's going to take forever to upload this video. Oops. Sorry, everyone. Lesson learned. Do not do a video when you can't see, because it makes it take much longer. Okay. But these are not basic flowers. These are ones you have to think about. Now, I even get as picky as I want not all, because again, it depends on your angle and it's like a ripple effect. So sometimes your petals can be longer or squatter or whatever based on how the beading went during it. So I will actually look at them and I will want the 3 that are sort of the smaller squatter ones to be in the middle. Now, if they all look the same, then ignore that. But so like I kind of compare. I'm like, oh, those are small squat. So I pick which ones are going to be my 3 inner rows. That looks even squatter though. So I'm going to take one off of these. These look good to be an outside one. So now I want to choose one of these that's more elongated. So I'm picking ones that are just like kind of short and squat, because however I did the angle, they ended up being that way for whatever reason. Don't know. And those will be my inner ones. Now, if you don't see any difference, then don't worry about it. Okay. So we do our 3 inner ones first. We do not want to do a pinwheel effect. We want to do 3 inner ones equally spaced and then 3 outer ones. I hope I'm grabbing the right ones now. Squat, squat, not squat, and squat. Uh-oh, I hear my dog going into the kitchen. Okay. So that's not good. He's a scrounger. So, okay, I'm going to hold the first one up right at the base of my wraparound wires, pushing it right in there, making sure that I have like a 90-degree angle on that, on my little chairs, remember? Holding about 2 or 3 inches down of wire and just start wrapping. I'm a wrapper, man. I get worried about these things, staying sound. So I will really wrap them the heck out of them. So now I'm going to do this one here. I would pause it and put it together. I really should, but then I'm going to have to merge, which didn't used to be a problem, but for some reason does seem to be taking a little longer. And I want to get this one done for you guys. So, okay, so I'm spacing them out, doing a total wrap around with that one. And of course, when I worry about time is when you start don't do that. When you start making mistakes, I went into the middle. And of course, it got tangled in all the sea of stamens. That's so funny. It's not really that funny, but it's kind of funny. Okay, we got it out. And off we go again. Now, this is one of those times, too, that wrapping can get annoying. So, cut off some wire. And if you end up, wasting a little bit, I know, easier said than done, but you got to always balance frustration with the waste, So now I'm putting the other one here, holding it, pushing it on with my thumb, holding it up there, and then wrap around. Getting so close to the end. Trying not to be scared of what my dog's doing in there. Okay. Wrapping around. Now I'm going to look down and make sure they're kind of closely spaced. You can move them at this stage. So I want them to be, I want them to be equally spaced pretty much. They don't have to be perfect. I'm loving that black dot situation still. Okay, so that's pretty good. Straighten my wire out again. And now let's start with our second row. I sometimes just push them down on the table, get my, get your 90-degree angle on it. Okay, stick them in the spaces, obviously. Hopefully that's obvious. So I stick them in my little empty in-between spaces. And pushing it up, I want it to be as close to the top as possible. And because we did that little tamp down, we get a nice like flush on the stem wire situation. When we tamp down, remember we tamp down lightly, this wire will snap. But the thing is, it normally snaps at the bottom of the twist, and that's enough anyway. Now, sometimes you still might want to, like I see a little like area there where it's getting a little looser, gently while still holding the stem wire, just gently bend it back in there. Don't want to do too much or else you'll get your wrap all wonky, your wrap that you've already done. Now I do my 90-degree angle, can do it that way. Stick it here. These things are sturdier than they look, as I'm sure you know. People who always see them out in the world are always like, think that they're like so fragile. I'm like, no, actually, you can sometimes just drop them on their head and just do a little bend back after that. I've had a lot go out into the public, and I don't think any of them have ever been damaged. I mean, they seem to get to where they need to go. Again, I'm going to tamp this one down a little bit because I see a little bit of empty space there. You can leave it too. It's not a big deal, but I'm going to want a thinner stem wire, like stem situation. So I do a lot of wraps. I don't count them. I don't know, whatever it is. Now, again, if you got it like this, you want to make a 90-degree, just push it on your desk, table, whatever, your work table. Stick it where you need to stick it. Try to get done. I love how I said I'm going to have it be under an hour. It's an hour and 45 minutes. Holy cannoli. Next time I will do it in 2 pieces. Sorry, everyone, so that you can opt. But here you can just come back to it, at least. Let's hope it uploads before tomorrow. But the cool thing is, right now, so I wrap a lot at the top, so that if I do see a little spacing there, you can see a little spacing there. Can't see if you can see it, but I hope you can. So I'm going to do a little bit of a tamp down. Now this one, there we go. So I'm going to bring it back down to the wire. Be very gentle with that. Do not be aggressive. Very rarely do you want to be aggressive with your beads. So I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. Well, not to the bottom. I'm just going to keep going for a little bit. Now, I always do I'm going to get this all the way down. Now, here's the deal. So I'm going to keep going. I don't know what all the way down means. For interest of time, I'm going to chop it off about 12 more inches. Cut that down. And because I keep bending the wire back and forth, there's a kink here. So that I can put it under the camera. That won't happen for you. So, I should have probably cut a little bit more. I want to go down maybe, 4 or 5 inches or so. I'm doing like a tight wrap. And when I mean that, obviously you always wrap tight. But when I say that, I mean like getting the rows of the wraps really close to each other. So they're almost like perpendicular. I'm not doing a long swooping wrap. I'm doing a close wrap. Because I'm trying to keep all of those stem wires. I want them there. I want them to be that's the thickness I'm looking for. I don't want it to be that thin. That would be weird looking. I think so. I want to use these wires to make it look like that. If you look at it now, that looks like about the diameter, the size, the width of the stems we looked at when I said, there's no calyx. So going down to the bottom. Okay, my dog came back. I guess he got bored out there since my husband's asleep. He's probably looking for food and didn't find any. Poor thing. Come on in, mister. Yeah, no, he's still looking. But at least I can hear him. Okay, so once I do this, I actually do stem floral tape on top of this. I do floral tape before I do my leaves. And then I will do the whole thing again. Or at least from the top leaf down. So make sure you're not going to poke yourself, which happens a lot. Now, it's looking pretty good. We haven't, you know, we're still manhandling it with it. But so right now, I like that little top bulge. That's good. Here's the way, if I'm not having a calyx, that I make sure that I have a little extra fortification. I actually bend, take my floral tape, and make sure you, again, you always stretch it to activate the wax. I kind of bend it, like pinch it in half, and that makes it kind of thicker and stronger. And then I use my thumb and I shove that right up on the edge. So I'm kind of like using like this ropey stem wire right up there on the top like that. It's going to look ugly for a second, but it's giving me a little bit more strength right underneath those petals. A little bit more strength. I'll do maybe like 5-6 rotations like that. And then I'll come back and I'll unpinch the wire like magically and just hold it like normal, and then just go over that again and make it smooth. Make it smooth. I'm trying to do it upside down, but my wrist doesn't really turn that way. So make it smooth, pull it tight, which I haven't been doing. There you go. This is not my wrist's favorite thing, as I'm sure some of you know. So now I have that little bulge, which we actually saw on the bottom of the stem. So it actually works out perfectly anatomically. And you can see that little bulge there. But it's also knowing that that's like fortified, like thick stem, you know, tape to just really hold those wires in there, you know, really get them in there. I mean, they're already wired down, but, you know, the more you can do to keep it solid, the better. So I go down, then I want to do that without the leaves on it, basically, because then it just keeps it nicer. And again, a lot of times I might not even put a leaf on this one because I know I'm going to put it in a larger arrangement where I might want to place the leaves and give them their own time to shine. But that being said, when I do this, sorry, I'm off the screen. I know I'm off the screen. It's because I'm trying to do it fast. When I'm going to go down, you know, at least to the bottom of the petal wires, you know, tie it off about here, and then clip it off about there. Let's do one leaf, right? Because what the heck, in for a penny, in for a pound, as they said now. I've never uploaded a video this long, so I don't even know. I might actually chop it into 2 pieces. That might be the best thing to do. I can do that easier. So if you heard me complaining about it being too, so I'm going to use a really small one. The smallest one I have right now is this guy. And I'm going to choose where I want to put it. I'm going to bend it down right about there. And again, I'm happy for all that lacing because it's making the structure of this thing not as wonky, because these can get real wobbly. Hang on, I'm checking out what he's doing over there. Rescue dogs are always an adventure. Love them, but an adventure. Okay, so I can use whatever. I'm going to use this 32 gauge black wire because it's here to strap down these leaves. Okay, so I'm going to put it, again, it's bent because I was bending it back and forth, but that's okay. Because even though we want it to have some natural bend and stuff, but I would normally do that later. This wouldn't do it before the leaves. So I'm going to pick wherever you think it might go. I don't know. I'm going to put it maybe down about 2 inches. Sure. I mean, I got to look at it to the side for a second. Okay. That's about good. You know, because again, if it's any deeper, it might get in the way of other things in the arrangement. And I'd rather just do deeper down ones on their own and kind of make a little, like a stem wire that just brings them up next to this one. And so they kind of have their own way to shine on it. Now, I'm going to strap this one down with some 32 gauge. Strap her down. Start right at the base of that leaf. You know, do a couple of good wraps for sure. In fact, this one I'm going to cut off about 12 inches just so it's not in my way. If I wasn't doing this on camera, I might not cut it off. It's just that it's too much in the way in the camera. So you don't have to cut it off. You can do it, keep it on the spool and wrap. And keep your stem, your wires from your leaf straight down along the stem wire. Just keep track of what's going on. Keep it, I mean, again, we flatten that one. So look how nice and flush it is. How nice and flush it is along the stem wire because we tamped it down with our pliers when we were done. So that keeps it nice and flattened. So, you know, I would probably even go a little bit longer, but I cut it off too short. I cut it off the right amount of wire I needed, but too short for me to actually have a good grip on it, right? I would probably have cut it this way if it was still on the spool. So that's good. I definitely overdo like structural stuff because again, I'm sending my stuff out and I just don't trust people not to get wonky with things. And in fact, you know what? Because I don't know if this one's going to be freestanding or not, I'm going to put another petal on her. I'll choose the next size down. In case you're wondering, I just put, it's a small one. I just put some wire in my mouth. Okay, I'm going to use that one. It's a fluffy one. That's cool. No, I like that one better. Okay, for this arrangement. I like them both. So about, you don't want to go straight across. You can, but, you want to go across, but kind of at a tilt. So you get a little bit of, and maybe down, another inch-ish. And again, you decide how many leaves you want to put on based on what you're going to use your flower for. So I'm holding my thing here and I'm doing some anchoring twists before I can have a better grip on it. Push that up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to wrap. The wire for my phone just fell down. Okay, I am like all kinds of messed up tonight. Like I said, first day of school. Dog ate my homework. I don't know. What's the next excuse I can have? Let's see. Okay, so we're going to wrap that one off. I'm going to go as fast as possible. I cut a lot of wire, so I don't have to keep you guys anymore. Then I like that arrangement. I would normally put a little bit more that way, but I like it. And until I get it taped on, nothing's permanent. Again, I'm going to take it off screen for a second so I can go a little bit faster with my wire wrap to not keep you any longer than I have to. Okay. So we're down to the bottom here. We got a little bit further. So there we go. So our flower's looking pretty darn awesome. Now, again, if we want to, I shouldn't do this until the end because you're going to keep manhandling it, but it's looking pretty good. Somehow this got a little wonky though. Oh, there we go. Now we got it. One of them got smushed by, there we go. I was like, what's up with the configuration? This one actually got behind the other one. So make sure you have your 3 up top that are equally spaced. And now we're looking good. That was an interesting. Okay, so there it is. Now I do one last pass over with the floral tape, starting at the bottom of the first leaf. Now this leaf got a little bit floppy, so I'm going to do a little extra fortification with this. So wrap it around. And you can choose if you have a different order you like to wrap things, then do it. But then with the leaves, I do that thing where I go above it with the wire, with the tape. And then I go below it. And with this one, I might actually want to do that a couple of times to really kind of seal it in there. Because it is going to, these are floppier leaves, this format, but they're cool. They are laced. That's good. But their base is not as strong as regular leaves. So it's not as rigid. Okay, so I went up and over a couple of times. And as you'll notice, you're not really seeing it. As long as you're careful with how you stretch the tape as you go, it'll still lay flat. Now, I would normally kind of be doing this fast, like to the edge of a table. So, you can probably don't be too alarmed by it, is my point. Okay, so now I'm coming to the top of the next one. So I'm going to get right down in there as much as I can. And now I'm going to go under it again. And then come up over it. And if you let it bend a little bit, that's actually not bad. Because again, we're going to kind of rope it in there. We're going to really, this one seems extra floppy. So I'm actually purposely pinching it into halves to like kind of just really go up and over it to really get that leaf ink. Now notice already it's a lot less floppy and moving around. So I'm going to pull that under. So there's all these little tricks you can always do to kind of help yourself along that aren't even that tricky. They're just kind of cool things you can do with stuff we already use. So I'm going to push that up because I'm going to go one last time under it. And now we're going to go down from there. I'm holding it in there. I notice it's still kind of pinched. So I want to hold it unpinched. And off we go. Oh, I'm off screen. I'm sorry. It's pinched. Worried about time. But again, I think what we're going to do is break it into 2. Okay. So off we go. Now just, you would keep rolling, but because again, we're on the screen and I'm trying to get like under I'm literally trying to get 18 inches of wire underneath about a 12-inch space. I feel like I'm making so many excuses tonight. I'm going to cut it off just to have that one less thing that I have to worry about, like keeping track of. But you don't have to do that if you're doing it on your own and you don't have to worry about where it's at. So anyway, you're going to spin down to the bottom. This is going to take me forever to do it that way, so let's just do it over here real fast. I could tell you, let me think, did anything fun happen at school today? I'm still Zoom teaching, so that's kind of funny. But nothing that funny. I'm trying to, only the first day. Everyone's so nervous on the first day, especially in math classes. I think they expect it to be scary or something. But we try to keep it, I try to keep it as we, like the royal we. Her Majesty, we. No, I try to keep it as stress-free as possible, but I don't think they're buying it on the first day. They're still expecting that there's like a hidden agenda. Okay. So I think at this point you get the gist. Now, here's what I might suggest though with this one. Depending on where you want to go with it, one stem wire might end up being too flimsy. Because down here now I don't have the petal wire with it, so it's just really like floppy. So you might want to fortify it, and you can even add a stem wire up here. That's up to you. You figure out how you want to do that. All right, now I'm just going to stop with the, because you don't literally need to watch me spin floral tape around it. But I'm not going to, I know I'm not going to use an 18-inch, but if you do, if you're going to use all 18 inches, and you're going to have an 18-inch flower, then you better use 2 stem wires, right? Because it can get a little flimsy in there. So let's see what we got. I'm going to cut it off before the end because I know I'm not going to use 18 inches. I'll probably use about 12. And even with that, I might go back later, and that's kind of annoying, and actually put in another stem wire. Okay, now my dog's doing weird stuff for sure. At least I can see it. So one of them is doing weird stuff. The other one's quite calm. So there we go. So I did it up to about 12 inches, right? That's about 6 inches cut off. Now, again, that might be a little bit flimsy here. I have not quite 100% committed to how I know what the idea I'm going to use with it, but I haven't committed to the exact arrangement and the height that will be. If I went too much taller than 12 inches for sure, you could come back in and strap in another one here, or you could even just start with 2 18 gauges. You'll have a thicker thing up here, but that's okay. Now, a lot of times though, I might be doing a really low profile one, in which case I'm going to cut it off about here anyway, and that's totally fine. It's just when we get down here and it's just literally like, but I'm not going to do 18 inches. But keep that in mind. You might need to fortify your stem wire. It might not be enough depending on how tall you want these to be. So be prepared. And if so, one way to do that would be you could, if you know that's going to happen, you can either start from the beginning with two 18 gauges, or you can, 2 16 gauges, or you could do a 16 and 18, or you can add maybe an 18 down, not a 16, an 18 down here, at the base of this last leaf, and you can put it right under, and I've done that many times, you can put it right under this last leaf so it's kind of camouflaged where the bump is, and it'll just fortify it from here down. Wire it in though. Wire it in and then put the tape on top of that. Don't put the leaf tape on until you fortify it. Okay, so you could put, like I said, like an 18 gauge right along here, wire it on with the leaf wire while you're wiring on the leaf, and then when you do that final taping, you'll go over top of it and it'll be hidden right under there, and it'll be totally fine and give you that extra boom down here. I've done all kinds of weirdnesses to fortify things because after the fact, so anything that works. I sometimes would put like maybe 320s here or 322s, like really thin ones, and put those like kind of lined under here and strap those on. All kinds of options. If you need it to be stronger further down, you might not need that. I don't think I'm going to need it because I think I'm going to end up cutting it actually pretty short. I'm going to put it in a little vintage planter, right? With this guy, the original demo one that I made without you guys, and then the one, so that's the one I made without you, and they are both looking pretty similar. I don't always want things to look similar, but I kind of like it. The insides are vaguely different. I like that. Notice in the first one, I used the black Picasso Jet Picasso. Good God, there's so many words in that. Hybrid. And this one I used the brown opaque AB matte. So, and I switched the two outer rows. Here I did the black jet as the first row of beads. So I used this one, that bead as the first row of bead, and here I use the first row here. So I kind of swapped them out a little bit. Just to give it a little bit more of a flavor, because I like them to have sort of their own personalities, even if it just comes down to that. I very rarely like to make the exact same flower in an arrangement. This is actually a lot more exact than I normally would do. And we have our cute little pretty leaves on here, our fluffy ones. I think they look I'm quite happy with the leaves, even though they were a bit painful to do. But they're not, because again, it's annoying to do all that lacing and stuff, but you know what? You get a really cool effect, and it doesn't take that long compared to, I feel like it's a good payoff. I still feel like I'm getting a good payoff for my time with that. So we'll put these together, and I was going to do different like shiny red ones, but now I'm thinking I want to just do a bunch of Nana poppies for my Nana. Helen was her name. So I think that would be cool. Oh, speaking of this one, notice how this is fluffy out. I'm going to fluff these out a little bit. Fluff these out more. Now that I got everything done, I have some freedom to sort of get more fluffy with things. So I'm going to push these out. I don't want them being right up against there. I want them spread out and fluffed out. So don't forget to do that. You did your initial bending, so now all you got to do is just push them. That's it. Just push them. There you go. I almost forgot to do that. So, there's our poppies. This is the one we made together. Thank you all for being here in spirit with me, making our lovely poppies. And as I have said before, this is an intermediate one, can be have its moments, but at the end of the day, have fun with it. Just have fun with it. Because, and I know I keep saying that, but I mean it. Because why else do it? I know they're cool to look at the end, but if you only remember them as being tedious and annoying things to make, then you got to make them with love, right? You got to make them with care. So, oh, here comes the little girl. She just wish you could have seen that maneuver. Okay, so I'm sorry, I shouldn't have laughed at that. That distracted me. She just ran right over the older dude, like barreled over him. He's not happy. Now, so that's it. That's the end of our poppies. Next thing I might do is just something a little more simple, like a lily, so that we can actually have some painting time with it together. And those have larger petals so that we can have a little more time to spread out, not just doing little black dots. And again, you might even be able to experiment with those black dots using a Sharpie. I would still go with a paintbrush though, because you want that feathering effect. Otherwise, good luck with and look how cool they look from the bottom too. Good luck with your poppies, and off you go. Maybe we'll do a little addendum later on doing a California poppy just for fun. But hope you liked it. I had to stop myself from saying have fun with it. Have a good time with it. There you go. I'll see you guys next time. Happy beading.